The reading from the Gospel of Luke. Now on that same day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" They stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?" He asked them, "What things?" They replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since these things took place. Moreover, some women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and when they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see him. Then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road, and how he had made known to them in the breaking of the bread. This is a story of our faith.
He had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. On Good Friday, the Fairfield congregation hosted an event along the Gorge Waterway. People walked along the tree and flower-laden pathway and experienced 8 different ways of engaging this challenging story of our faith. My responsibility was to serve communion. Serving communion is a privilege, and to be honest, a mystery that is difficult to put into words. All I can say with authenticity is that God feels intimately present. On this Friday, on this Good Friday, Jesus became known in the breaking of the bread. The people who shared this experience with me were different from each other. The knowing of Jesus was different too, fuller, more nuanced, richer. Here are 3 stories from that day. Story number 1. A mother comes with her 2 children, a girl about 6 and a boy maybe 3. As they approach the communion table, the mother asks the boy, "Who loves you?" He responds, "You do, Mummy." She presses on, "Who else loves you?" Clearly, she has one acceptable answer in mind. This jogs a memory of the old joke about a minister doing children's time. He asks, "What has long ears, soft fur, and hops?" A child answers, "It sure sounds like a bunny, but in church, the answer is always Jesus." And that's the answer that this mother probes for. But to her second asking of the question, "Who loves you?" her son answers, "Everybody loves me." Beautiful. Can you imagine a state of being where you feel so completely embraced by love, so totally welcome in the universe? The Jesus I meet through this child's words at the table is the one who calls us beloved, the one whose heart is open and eases fears. There is a confidence in living that comes when you are so assuredly rooted in such a love. The table of Jesus is the center of hospitality for our faith. There are no barriers of economics, ethnicity, gender, or sexual identity. Here, love is offered, received, embodied. Story number 2. A woman and 2 of her friends walk forward to receive communion. Serving communion during the time of COVID is complicated. The sacred words come blurred through a mask. The elements are touched by gloved hands and poured out messily into small paper cups. The masks are removed only for the few seconds it takes to consume a small gluten-free cracker and a sip of juice. Initially, it feels as though there are too many impediments to a spiritual experience. Yet, immediately, these women are deeply present to the experience. They feel the words, participate in the blessing of the elements, and savor the feast. The bond between the 3 seems to provoke the presence of the unseen one who presides at his table. A profound reverence descends on all of us together and each of us individually. Something happens between us and to us. The Jesus we know in the breaking of the bread is both familiar and mysterious. We feel comfort, connection, and even challenge. The sacrament of communion is communal, meant to be experienced with others, not only to strengthen the connection to the holy, but also in order to deepen relationships with each other. The Jesus known in the breaking of bread fosters relationships grounded in forgiveness, truth, and hope. Jesus joins those along the way who then make space for him. God always creates space for the other. Space for the other in order that true community might be formed. Community is bolstered through the sharing of hospitality, the engagement of conversation, and the sharing of the good news of the one who comes, known in the breaking of the bread. The four of us stand along the table in silence, reluctant to speak or move. Eventually, we do. Story number 3. A 40-something woman approaches the table. I know something of her story. A person of deep faith, financially burdened during the pandemic, a widow trying to support 2 teens, missing her own church community and its practices. She has taken communion virtually, but not with another person for over a year. She begins to weep even before the first words are spoken. Her hunger for the feast is so huge that she sobs until long after we're finished. The emotion, I suspect, is a mirror of the table itself. It is the table of the past, where the stories of Jesus' faithfulness are told. It is the table where we remember our own past and the ways we have been present to or absent to God, our gratitudes and regrets rest here. It is also the table of our present, where we are nourished and fed body, heart, and soul. The table where we bring our current circumstances, vulnerable, afraid, grateful, all that our lives suffer and treasure. And finally, it is the table of our future, where the nourishment carries us with hope into our future and into the world. Here we gather strength for the journey to come, trusting that we will be accompanied. She lays all this at the table through her tears. The tears are accepted and blessed. The writer of Luke says that Jesus takes the bread, and in the blessing and in the breaking, new life and new eyes are offered. To the lost, the lonely, the suffering, this revelation of Jesus is indeed good news, as my friend's tears testify. Just as those walking on the road to Emmaus, Jesus comes to those with shattered hopes. His revelation in the breaking of the bread does not solve everything in their lives, but gives them direction, strength, and a community in which life can be engaged. At the table, Jesus welcomes us, calls us beloved, builds community, deepens relationship, and strengthens the vulnerable. It can be easy to drift over the ancient words, consume a bit of bread, and juice and be on our way to watch the football game or plan lunch. What I witness on Good Friday is that if we actually invite Jesus to be present at the table, he shows up. What a wonder. What good news.